One second. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hi, Advay. Good evening. Okay, one sec. Give me a second. Okay, I'm just completing. Yeah, I'm just cutting the file.
So from today, they will be the proper problems.
Yeah, Advay, give me one second. Okay, I'm just closing the unwanted windows. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, hi. Good evening to all of you. So, Aditya, good evening. Hasini, Anita, Advay. Yeah.
Good
So,
evening, sir.
yeah, we have one missing person today, which is Neha. So, I'll just send her message also. Okay. Yes. Advay, what was your question?
From today, we will have the something like a real problems.
Yeah, today actually, I would like to highlight some of the important things, like, the exception handling part. So when there are any exceptions occurring, right? So how to tackle all the exceptions, I'm going to explain today. Okay. And I hope Anita and Hasni and Aditya. So you are trying the programs, right? Writing the programs, right, by yourself.
Sorry for like us too busy. My husband also went
Oh,
India, so I don't have time to.
yeah. Okay. Try to find some time, Anita.
Social. Yeah.
That's how we know. That's how we learn actually. Aditya, how about you, Aditya? So I think Aditya has got the same problem, maybe audio. Hasni, how about you, Hasni?
I tried some.
Okay. So you were last time you were facing some issue, right?
Yeah,
So was it resolved or you need help on that?
help.
Okay. So maybe we will discuss after this class, and then we'll see what's the right time to resolve your problem. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. So today seems to be a very important subject today. Okay. So we will be talking more about exceptions. So I'll just give some highlights on what we learned last class. Okay, string buffer, and string builder. So all these three are classes. Okay, all these three are string buffer, and string builder are all classes only. So because Java deals with only classes, right? So fine. So why we need these three classes? To handle the text data type. We don't have a data type for handling the text, right, in Java. So we have numbers, int, float, decimal for normal integer numbers and
Character and
numbers.
boolean.
And there is a char keyword for handling the single characters only. We don't
And
have the,
boolean function.
yeah, for true or false, we have the boolean data type. For handling the long paragraph text, right, we don't have any data type in Java. So for that, what the initial developers has done is they came up with string, and then after there are some limitations in the string, so they built some enhanced version of string buffer. So after building string buffer, because of multi-threading concept, so they wanted to implement some of the solution, enhanced solutions. So they built the string builder also. So that's the core info behind these three. Okay, so for handling the text data type, so we are having these three classes, and today we'll see about the exceptions also. Fine. Now, as usual, we will check the revision part first. Okay, like what we do regularly, right? So first question. So first question is to Ila. Ila, are you there? Can you read out and then answer it?
The text data in bar can be stored in dash checkbox.
Yeah, which for handling numbers and all, we have the int and then float and decimal, right? For handling the text data, what data type we have in Java?
The string.
Yes, we have the string object type, string buffer, and string builder. Okay. Now, second question goes to Advay.
String is a final class.
Yes, string is a final class and cannot be.
And cannot be changed.
So if it cannot be changed, what is the right term we call it?
Immutable.
Immutable. Perfect. So you try to remember these important terminologies. Okay, when somebody asks you, you must say these words so that it gives a very good impression when you are explaining. Okay, immutable. Now, Anita, the third one to you. String buffer, string builder, classes, or dash. So can these be changed? Can the values of these types be changed?
Both classes are mutable.
Immutable. Okay, perfect. So string buffer and string builder classes are mutable. Mutable means the values can be changed. Okay. And next question also to you. All methods in string buffer class. So all the methods in the string buffer class are declared as dash. Anita, for you only.
Okay, all methods.
String buffer has got a lot of functions in it, right? So all those methods are declared with a specific keyword to handle the multi-threading, issues. So, no, these are synchronized. All the methods in the string buffer are synchronized. Remember this, Anita. This will be helpful for your interview point of view, actually. So synchronized means what? Only one person can access at one point of time. Okay. So similarly, can you answer the next question also?
String builder classes are non-synchronized.
Correct. Non-synchronized means, do we mention any keyword for that? For the methods?
No.
No, we don't mention any keyword for non-synchronized. Okay. So by
for multi-threading, right? So string builder is for multi-threading.
Repeat, Anita, again.
No, this one is for multi-threading. Two threads can call the.
Correct. Yeah, two threads can access the methods that are available in the string builder at the same point of time. So for that, we are using string builder. So string buffer, even if multiple threads are trying to access the object, right, or access the methods of the string buffer, only one thread will be allowed to access.
We need to use the synchronized keyword in the
string buffer. Yeah, it's already, the methods in string buffer are already synchronized. So we just have to use it according to our requirements. Okay. Fine. So you just, keep it in mind. String buffer functions are all synchronized.
Synchronized.
Synchronized means one after the other. One after the other means what? The execution time is more, right? So when it is
Yeah.
execution time is more, it is less efficient than string builder. String builder, multiple threads can access, right? So that's why it is
More
quite
efficient.
Yeah, it is more efficient than
More
string buffer. Okay, so yeah, good. Anita, these things are very important. You just make a note of what these things. Okay.
Okay.
So Hasini, can you give some examples of string
So I
class?
send in the chat.
Okay, Hasini, how about you? Can you give an example of some methods available in string class? Okay, I'll give you. Length. If you want to check the length of the string, right? So there is a length function available.
Two uppercase, two lowercase,
Yes,
value.
correct. So we have two uppercase, two lowercase, and then we have what is that? Substring also. Substring available in string class. So there are many
Split.
methods used actually. So
Split.
we will see, like, from next class onwards, we will solve most of the problems. Okay, we'll write the programs. Now, up to mostly up to this class or next class, we'll talk theoretically mostly. Okay, you'll try to understand. So what is the next question, next answer, Advi?
String class is final and cannot change its value. True.
True, perfect. You only said this. So next one, Aditya, the next two questions are for you. So Aditya, I'm not able to hear anything. So I think,
So can I say?
yeah, I have not really heard it. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, Aditya, I suggest you just go through the videos. Okay, video links I already shared up to eighth lessons. Okay, all those lessons are there. So you just whatever lesson you haven't attended, or just go through those. Okay, fine. So the rest is yours, Advi.
Yeah. The value of string type is stored in the string pool.
String pool, correct. The value of the string type is always stored in the string pool. And the next one, object references are stored in dash location of JVM.
The Java heap memory.
Correct, Java heap memory. Anita, this one also quite important, Anita. String pool and
Okay. Java heap memory.
heap memory, yeah.
The object references.
Correct. All the object references and the variables are all stored in the Java heap memory. Okay. So whereas string values will be stored in the string pool. Okay. String pool is a part of JVM. Java heap memory only. Fine. Okay. Next, syntax for loop.
Yeah, the syntax for loop is for keyword space, then the parentheses, then expression, then close the parentheses, then a space, then curly bracket, and then the code.
Okay, true. So for the first parameter would be like assignment. Okay, the initialization or assignment, like int x is equal to 0.
No.
You are assigning a value, right? So the first one will be assignment. The
Then
second one would be
semicolon.
conditional expression. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second parameter would be conditional expression, and third one would be increment or decrement.
Increment.
Okay, fine. So while loop.
Yeah, for the while loop syntax is while space parentheses, then the expression,
Conditions.
then the condition, then this parentheses closing, then the curly brackets.
Okay, so next one to Anita again. Do while.
Do, then open parentheses.
Flower bracket.
Flower
Right?
bracket, then close flower
Statements.
bracket, and while, then inside conditions.
Correct. So what is the main difference between while and do while?
While at least one, if it is satisfying the condition, then only it will go inside the.
Correct. How about do while?
Do while at least one time, it will execute the
the block of the
block,
div.
block of conditions. Yeah.
Then it checks the condition.
Then it checks the condition. If condition is not satisfied, then it will exit from there. Otherwise, it will go again inside the do block and processes the statements inside the do. Okay. So last one I haven't explained actually. That is
Sir,
very
is
important.
it string?
No. So all Java classes. So any Java class or any Java object that you write by default. So all refers to a superpower, right? So, but like in the real world, we say like, we have the superpower, right? We have a God. So similarly, in Java also, all the objects, when I talk about objects are nothing but classes, okay? Remember that way. So all the classes by default, they extend to object class. Okay, remember this. OBJECT, and O is the capital word, object class. So even if you don't specify, by default, JVM will internally consider it as it extends to object. Okay. So this is also an important one, which I haven't explained it in the earlier classes. Now, fine.
Meaning like a string, there is an object class.
Yes, correct. So if you see here, okay, let's take an example. I'm going to write test class. So inside this, let me view main method, and then you see here object O is equal to new object. That's it. So object is the super class. Any class that you see, I click on this test, it will be actually extending to object only by default. Okay. So if you go inside this object is already available. It has got some built-in methods, which are toString, some by default methods. There are like equals, hash code. You see, hash code equals. So some methods are already available, toString. So by default, all these whenever you write any class, right? So let's see, we wrote this test class, right? I want to, so you see here, when I write equals, right, what does it have on top of it?
Override.
Override means what? I'm trying to override the equals method, which is already existing, right? But test class is not extending to any class. Is it extending? No, right?
No.
But it is actually extending. You see, super, we mentioned the superpower, right? This is super dot equals. So if we don't specify any implementation, it takes the default implementation that is available in the super object. Who is super? Super is object class only. So if you click on this, it goes to object only. You see, I close this object. I will comment out this part, save it. You see super dot equals. So when I click on equals, so it doesn't know where is this function, right? But JVM knows that all classes extends to object, right?
But
so,
sir, if object is the everything extends there, then how does that object class run?
no, object class will not run. It is a default class. It is like which is always there actually. So there should be always a starting point, right? So object is like a starting point, and then all the classes whatever we write, it actually refers to the main object.
So the object class runs without extending to anything.
Yeah, we no need to mention. No, we no need to explicitly specify like this. Extends object. We no need to specify like this. We don't need to, because by default they are all extending. Okay. Let's see, I think this one is spelling it. Yeah, we don't need to mention some like this. Okay, because by default it is already extending, so no need to specify it. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, because object is the super class. It is a super class, means it's like a parent to all the classes. Whatever class you write, so it is a child of this object only. Okay, and you can see there is a hash code also, right? You see, whenever I type hash code, it actually adds at the rate
Without override, there would be an error, because
Correct.
then two methods cannot be there.
Yeah, you see, whatever function that are available in object class, right? All those objects I can override here, override in my subclass. So it is not a subclass, but it is actually a subclass to object class. Okay, you remember this. This is an important point, but we need to understand the internal aspects also. How the any class that you write by default extends to object. You remember that. Okay, superclass is what? What's the name of the superclass?
Object.
Object. Remember that. Okay, fine. Now let's see. Okay, we have done this, and string buffer and string builder, we already saw this one in the last class, right? So I'll just read out this one, okay, just to have a revision kind of thing. String buffer is synchronized, which means it's a thread safe. So if multiple threads or two threads trying to access, right, it is like one after the other. So they both cannot modify the contents, okay, because it is one after the other, right? That's why we call it as thread safe. Okay, so string buffer is less efficient than what?
String builder.
Correct, less efficient than string builder. And string buffer is mutable, and string builder is also mutable. So string builder is more efficient than
String buffer.
Correct. So string builder is non-synchronized, which means it is not thread safe. Okay, which it is not thread safe. So whenever you see like non-synchronized refers to not thread safe, means it is not the threads safe. So not thread safe means multiple threads trying to access, means so it can update the original object also. So that's why the object is not safe. We say it like that. Fine. So I'll just give an example of how to initialize. Last week we haven't seen, right, example of string buffer, and then how to write it in a program. So let's see here. Okay, so let's see an example of, yeah, here is, let me try, let me type it here only. So let's learn what's that.
String buffer and string.
Hi Sneha, good evening and happy new year. String buffer.
Yeah, happy great New Year.
Yeah, that's why I wished on last day itself. I know, like, I would be forgetting. Yeah, happy new year to all of you. Okay,
Happy
string.
New Year.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy New Year.
String buffer SB is equal to, so here this is like object declaration. So you can either declare a class like this and then initialize SB is equal to. So this way also you can. So string buffer is a class, right? So class means how to declare that? Using
Object.
new using new keyword.
Declare.
Okay. Yeah. So if we want to declare any object, right? Any object of class type, you must and should use new. Okay. When you create using new, right? What it will do? It will create a space in the Java heap memory. So and then followed by the class name.
Class name.
String buffer. That's it. So you can do this way, or okay, I'll just make it as string buffer 1 and string buffer 2. So either you can pass some default value as empty. So if you want to pass some other value, right, you can pass it as like what is that? Oh yeah, so default text, any default text. And after this, how can we assign the value? Assign different, append the paragraph. We said like string buffer is used for paragraphic, text, right, to capture the paragraphic text. So let's see. Okay, some kind of default text I wanted, so I'll just copy this text. Okay, so whenever I type this, what you have to do is sv1, and there is a function that is available in the string buffer, which is
Append.
append. Okay, append, right, you are perfectly right. So append is the function that is available in the string buffer, and you just have to add double quotes, and within the double quotes add the text. Okay, it is too big, right? So what I do, I'll just make some lines here, something like this. So I'll just make a duplicate copy of this like this, and then Control X, Control V, and then this one Control X, Control V, Control X, and then this one also Control V, Control X. I'll give space here, and then here I'll not give space. Control X, and then here I will give space because here there is no space. So you can do anyway. So you see here we have created SB1. So SB1 is a string buffer, and you must always use dot append, dot append, dot append, dot append, SB1 dot append, and then this one would be executed second, and then this one would be executed second. Okay, so the same way I'll take this content, same content I will take, I'll do it for SB2. Okay, so Control C. So here instead of SB2, right, I will take out this part. SB2 I don't want to give every time.
So sir, give tab.
Only in the last I will take it. So you see, dot append will actually return the string buffer only. Append will return the, what is the return type of string of append function? Is string buffer only, right? So when the return type is already string buffer, we no need to mention as the object dot append, object dot append, object dot append. We no need to mention. So we can directly use dot append, something like this. You see, dot append like this. You can keep on adding it like this. Okay, so the same thing I will do for here also. Just mention SB3, and then I'm going to print all here. So printing on the console. So how to print on the console? Java console?
S out.
Yes, S out. So system.out.println SB1. Okay, and then here SB2, and then SB3. So I want to differentiate the text actually. So how I can differentiate? I will give a lines here. Okay, something like this. Okay, and then I'll add one more here, and then I'll add one more here, and then I'll add one more here. So yeah, let's execute. So for execution, what should we do?
Control. Wait. No.
How to run?
Control Shift F6.
Control Shift F10.
Oh, F10.
Control Shift F10. Then the program is running. You see, the program is running.
No, sir. The main that the RESTful endpoint is in.
Yeah, we can do that also. So I just wanted to be fast, so that's why I just use this main method. Okay. So you see the text is written here. This is SB1 and this is SB2, and then in the beginning itself I assigned the default value as empty here, right? If I don't specify in the first SB1, right, it will take by default as empty only. The third string, you see, the third one by the default value is what? Poem. So it will start with poem only. So it will keep on appending this text to the existing object. So that's why poem is appended in the beginning itself. Okay. So this is about string buffer. And then the same thing. Okay. I will show you the same example here. Okay, same example using string builder. Okay, this part I will use. String builder also renders you the same output. Okay. The only difference is,
Sir, in the console, does it show how much time does it take? Then we can compare.
yeah, we can. So we have the watch. So libraries, we can import some libraries. So maybe I'll see if I can give you more information on that part. Oh, this is 4, right? This is. So this is 5. And it should render me the same output actually. Okay, here SB4, SB5, and SB6. Okay, to make the difference, I'll just add one more ln. Okay, now let's run this program.
Run, finish.
Okay, you see, I gave a new line, right? So that's why it's taking an empty line here. And then exactly the output would be same actually. No difference actually. So why no difference? Because the
Because the function is same.
right, if you are in the multi-thread environment, then you can see the difference, slight difference. So you can actually print that for appending here, right? Take an example of string buffer and then take an example of string builder and then try to append the numbers to it. Then you can see the real difference actually. So what I was telling is, yes, string buffer, right? String buffer SB7. Let's take an example of string buffer. And then same thing, instead of this, I'll take an example of SB8. So here I will do for loop. Int I is equal to from 1. Okay. And then I less than or equal to, maybe you can take 1000. And I plus plus. And then here is B7 dot append of I semicolon. So here you see I is an integer, int type, right? But you see append actually has as a function which can take int. So, and that will be converted actually. That will be auto converted, casted to string. So, okay, fine. So it means SB7 has got numbers from 1 to.
So 1 to 1000.
1 to 1000. So, yeah, I give a space here. Okay, I'll give a space also here. And the same thing we will do it for SB7 and then SB8. Okay. Yeah, so now you can see SB7. And then this part is SB8. So the implementation is same actually. Okay, this is builder end. So why we use these two functions is like there are many useful functions that are available inside. So what I suggest is now you learned about string buffer and string builder, right? So now what you have to do is you have to go inside and then see, what this, what the functions are used for. Length. So what is this capacity? What is the ensured capacity? And then you just, try to find it in Stack Overflow or Google. You can Google it out. And then mostly what we do is we use the append and toString. So because this is a string buffer, right? Finally, we want to convert it to string, right? So we use toString function in the end. So if you don't specify also, it will just, take it as convert it, auto convert. Fine. So we just used it, and then let's see. Control Shift F10. So the output will be same actually. See, the output for both of them would be same. So this way you can actually see how to append. Okay, fine. So now let's go to the next slide, which is important topic. Yeah, this part we have done. So I'll just not do much on this. Let's go to the next section. Yeah, exceptions. So I want to explain this part, which is very important in Java. Okay. So I told you, right, Anita, this one is quite important for you. Okay.
Okay.
So the last question which I asked is like, all the classes, what is a super class for all the classes?
Object.
Object. You see the same thing also here. So object is the super class, and that's what here we are representing. And then below object we have for exceptions. This is only for exception. Okay. So exception, what happens is throwable. Throwable is the class that is already written, which always extends to object. Okay. So now you see throwable contains two types of errors. What are they? Error and exception. You see, error and exception. So I'll tell you more about, this part is quite important actually, this part, throwable, error and exception. So if you see error, right, error is like, some kind of hard errors, like system exits from that, like, unknown error, like out of memory, or Java heap space is, not available, right? The memory is not available, then you'll get out of memory issues. And perm gen, for permanent gen errors. So you might have seen, Anita, right? The memory errors, and then illegal argument.
Yes.
So sorry, stack overflow. So the memory related. So or some kind of links that are not happening, right? So in those cases, the system hard exits. Like when the server is started, if you are trying to connect to some server, and if you're having the link is not happening, right? Like, so in those cases you'll be getting the hard errors, means system exits from that, it will not continue from there. Okay, that's what we call
In web scraping, does the linkage error come?
no, this is separate actually. I'll give more details. Okay, not if I start getting into this, right, you have to know a lot of other things also. So we'll talk only this part. Okay, I'll just explain. You try to understand and make very few notes of these things. It would be very helpful. Error, you think this way. So JVM will actually throw some errors. So the error is not in our control. So you can make it, you can handle it, but it's not in our control. So it would be controlled by the JVM. Okay, it's a hard exit. If any out of memory comes, right, error comes, right, so we just have to find a way to fix this, like increase the memory, or see where exactly is the program having an error. So those kind of errors will be in the left side, error side. So the next one is exception. So this exception is very important. So what is an exception? Exception is like, unknown circumstance. An error occurred during processing of our program. So we have written one program, and there is some kind of exception which we are not expecting. And that kind of exceptions we can handle, or some are some may be handled and some may not be thrown to the other classes to handle it in a safe way. So let me explain this part. So exceptions are like programmable exceptions. Like if there is any you are trying to find something in a string, like string length is 30 characters and you're trying to find the character at 60th location. So the length of the string is less than or equal to 30 characters, right? So at that time the program will throw an exception. So that is the meaning of exception. So you're trying to find something and then it's not the program may not have those values, right? In those cases you'll have the exception. Exceptions are of two types. So that I will explain it in the next slide. Okay, so this part is for programmable errors. Whatever you are trying to write programs, right? In the program, you can get these kind of exceptions.
So
these
is
exceptions you
one
can
exception in our control and one type is not?
Okay, so you see, exception is one class, error is another class, out of memory error is one class, stack overflow is one class, runtime exception is one class, so IO exception is one class. So all these exceptions that we are mentioning here, right? They're all classes only. So it's just a notation that we gave, like, okay, if something is happening, some kind of errors are coming, then throw this runtime exception, then throw this IO exception. Suppose if we are trying to find a value at some specific location and that location is not available, then it throws in out of index out of bounds exception or array index out of bounds exception, something like that. And you are trying to find one file and that file is not present in the file system. So then file not found exception will be thrown. Okay, you understood, right? So these kind of exceptions will be occurring. Right? So the exceptions are of two types. Let's get into the other slide and then we'll try to understand. Okay, exceptions. Exceptions are of two types, basically. Okay, one is unchecked exceptions and checked exceptions. Unchecked means what? We don't know, right? We don't know what kind of exception may occur. So that is unchecked. Checked exception is what? I exactly know what kind of my program is going to throw. So like compile time, we know when we are checked exceptions, yeah, you will read out the statements and it would be clear for you. Unchecked exceptions. These exceptions are thrown during the program execution. So when the program is getting executed, right? So during that time, unchecked exceptions are thrown. Means while the program is running. So while the program is running means what? That's why we call runtime exceptions. When the program is running, then exception is occurred, right? So those kind of
So
errors we call
like
as
the IO exception that.
correct. So IO exception is comes under checked exception. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you that part. That's why you see in the previous slide, IO exception is here. So all this part are checked exceptions. Okay, all the exceptions that come under runtime exception, right? They are all unchecked exceptions. So we don't know exactly when they are going to come. Okay, so the program will detect and then it will let us know. So while writing a program, you'll come to know this part. Okay, now you think this way. Runtime exception is the unchecked exception, and the right side one, IO exception, file not found, socket exception. All these are checked exception. Okay, remember that way. So the let's read out the statement for unchecked exceptions again. These exceptions are thrown during the program execution. So when the program is getting executed, so if it finds some kind of runtime exceptions, then it throws an exception. So that's called runtime exceptions. Okay. And checked exceptions. Checked exceptions are like while writing the program itself, the the specific
Compiler.
the specific function will actually highlight, okay, this function is going to throw some exception, please handle it. So that's why we say it as compile time exception. Okay, so when we are writing the program itself, we'll come to know. That's why it is checked. Means what? We have already checked this exception and handled it. So That's the difference between unchecked and checked exception. So while writing and while running, that's the main difference. And you see here, custom exceptions. Custom exceptions are what? So if you want to write, there are some existing, built-in exceptions that are available in unchecked exceptions and checked exceptions, like what we seen in the previous game, right?
Also, the exceptions, the custom exceptions, we can write ourselves.
Right, exactly. So these are all built-in exceptions. You see, illegal argument exception. We don't need, it's already written by someone. Index out of bounds exception, it's already there in the Java. So number format exception, arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. So all these exceptions are already existing. Suppose if we feel some other own, I want my own exception to be written, then I will use custom exceptions. So custom exceptions, we no need to do anything. We'll just write a class, same exception kind of class, and then we will extend to exception. Okay, and if we want to write our unchecked exception, right, custom exception, what we do, we extend to runtime exception. Okay, so then if we extend to runtime exception, it becomes unchecked exception. If we extend to exception, then it becomes checked exceptions. Like IO exception, if you want to extend, you can extend, and then you can say like custom IO exception, something like that. Okay, so that's the main if you are trying to write your own custom exceptions, you have to extend your class to exception or runtime.
So if we extend it to exception, it defaultly executes like as the unchecked. No. I mean the checked. I mean the checked.
Correct. So let me explain that part also in the program. So I'm just giving some points which would be helpful. Anita, you're getting right what I'm trying to say?
Yes, Papa.
So how about you, Hasni?
Kind of.
Hasni, you're getting right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any doubts, right? You just let me know. No, I can explain. Okay. Fine. So now let's see handling exceptions. So when there is an exception that is coming, we know, like in the previous case, what we did, checked exception is like during writing the program itself, we have handled this, right? So there are exceptions during the program running. So when the program is really running, at that point, it will throw an exception. So during that time, we don't know what kind of exception is coming, right? So we need to handle those exceptions. How to handle? Using try catch finally block. Okay, this one, try catch finally block. So finally is the optional. Finally is optional. Catch is also optional. So I will explain that part. We'll read through the statements. You'll come to know. Okay, Java provides 5 essential keywords to handle an exception. Any exception you can handle. Okay, using what keywords? Try, all in small. You notice here all the letters in these keywords are small. Try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. These are the 5 keywords which will be helpful to handle any exception. Okay. So let's see. Try. So when do we use try? You see here, this is the try block. Try block has got statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, right? So statement 2, if it is trying to throw an exception, or the statement that is prone to throw an error, like if you're trying to find the 20th character in a string of length 10 characters. The string length is 10 characters, and you're trying to find what characters is stored in the 20th character, then it actually throws some exception. So
and it does not execute the below line.
Correct. So when those kind of things, when those kind of exceptions that are prone to come, you have to write those statements within the try block. So you see try, give a space followed by open bracket, and then followed by some statements and close bracket. So statement 1, statement 2, statement 3 are there, right? So the error may come at any place. Either it can come in statement 1 or statement 2 or statement 3. So any place it may come. Okay, when error comes, what will happen? The second keyword will help us. So catch. the block of code to handle the exception. So whenever there is an exception that is appearing in the try block, the catch block is used to handle the exception. So the syntax is something like this: catch and then exception class here and give a variable name. So exception class will take the values like this: IO exception, or index out of bounds exception, or array index out of bounds. So any exception you can give. Okay, so exception and then variable name. So in the catch block parenthesis, and within the parenthesis you declare a class and its variable. So any exception comes and that exception will be passed to the respective catch block. Catch block can be multiple. You remember the catch block can be multiple. So how it goes? In the order. So whatever order is here, right? IO exception and then file not found exception and socket exception. So you can have 3 exceptions here in this case: catch, IO exception, catch, file not found exception, catch, socket exception. Okay. So you can have 3 kinds of catches here, catch blocks here. Catch, open, yeah, this is parenthesis and then open bracket and then close bracket. You can mention the statements here. So now there is a requirement. Sometimes, you know, we may have to we may want to run the code even at least once. So at least once means must and should run. It must and should run. So during that case, what will happen? We will use finally.
Finally.
Keyword. Yes, finally keyword. So what it does is, usually, you know, in a real-time use case, right? What we do in finally block is we will release the resources that are being hooked up. Okay, which, you know, suppose if you are reading a file here, right, in the try block. So if the program exits from here, the that is a resource which is still holding, right? So we have to release that IO. So means that, you know, handling the resource is very expensive. So what we do is, in the finally block, we will release the statement. I will show you, like, you know, how to release the file and all. Okay, I'll explain the program. Next is throw. So throw keyword is used to throw a new exception. Suppose I handle the exception here and I want to throw a different exception, my own custom exceptions. So I can throw a custom exception here within the catch block. Or if you want to throw some based on certain condition, you want to throw an exception, statement 3 can be like that. So you can throw your own custom exception at statement 3. Okay. And next one is throws. So throws is the keyword used to represent the method. So like at method level, so after, you know, that is, okay, let me show you. So this is a method, right? Main is the method. So the method is expected to throw an exception, right? Let's take an example. File f is equal to new file. I just mentioned the file name here, right? So I'll just give a name of what file, fee.txt. I'm trying to find this file. So f dot exists. So if f dot exists, so here what I do, if not of exists, throw new file not found exception. If file is not found, right, the fee.txt file is not found in the folder. So what I'm doing is semicolon. So now you see, it is, whenever it is showing in highlighted red color like this, right? This is what type of exception is this?
Checked.
Checked exception. You see, file not found is checked, right? In our slide also you can see previous file not found is at IO exception side. So runtime is the unchecked exception, and this one is checked exception. So file not found. So that's why it is highlighted. So now for this case, what we have to do, we have to handle it, right? So usually, right, we are talking about the throws block here, the throws keyword, So it is written at the method level. So this is the method, right? So for this method, what I do, I write throws file not found exception, give a space. So means this method is expected with this file not found exception. So it may enter into this block, it may not enter. If it enters, so the method level has got this exception that is thrown. So if you write this, if you run this program, you'll come to know. This fee.txt is not present, right? So you see, that's why execution failed. Why? See, file not found exception. The fee.txt file is not found in the folder. So the file is not present, that's why it is throwing an exception. Okay. Now,
But sir, like if the code below also needs to run without the try catch, then it only shows the error. Then how to like overcome?
Here I'm trying to show you this part, this exception, right? So if you want to handle this, what you can do is you can take out this part. Okay, now this is throwing an error, right? So what you do is try, and then you go here, give a catch block. And then here you throw file not found exception. Okay, FNFE, and then FNFE. You want to print what kind of exception, right? So if you want to see what it is generating, where exactly is generating, you can use print stack trace. Print stack trace is the function. Okay, it will return you the stack trace. So now we have handled this part. Then this further details will also be handled properly because we have handled it here. So now we'll run this program. See, all the outputs is also printed. You see all the SOPs. In earlier case, it was hard block, right? If we don't mention this, it is a hard block. Means the file is not existing. So if the file is not existing, it will throw this exception. In the current case, what we did, even if the file is not existing, yes, it throws an exception. So when this exception is thrown, what it does, it will go into the catch block. So catch block, this statement will be executed, and after this statement, it will go further. Actually, it will go further, and then it will run all these things. So this is the safest way. Actually, we know that whenever there is an exception, we have to handle it safely so that the rest of the program will get executed without any issues. Okay, and here itself we can mention like finally block. So you see here, you can either mention try and finally, or try catch, or try catch finally. So those are the three possibilities that you can write.
The combination.
Yeah. So one is this one, try finally, and the second one is try catch. Okay, and the third one is try catch finally. So here, if I want to find one more, right, you can add one more exception here. One more exception here. Suppose if it is not file not found, right, there could be another exception. Then it will exit this exception, and then it will go inside this exception. Okay, so like what exception we are throwing here? Let's see. File not found, IO exception, right? So let's see. IO exception. Catch branch identical to file not. So you see, unreachable section means whenever file not found is happening, this one is already
extended. It cannot go back up.
No, this is already extending to IO exception. File not found is already extending to IO exception, right? That's why it complains. So this block will never be executed. So what it is, you keep it here.
Only in the level of
So if you keep it here, yeah, if you keep it here, you see it again says it's already caught. The file not found is caught. How? IO exception is actually super class of file not found, right? So it's also handled this way. So either you can add it only one exception, or if there is one more exception thrown here, right? Something like, you see, let's take an example of int I is equal to 5, and then int 0 is equal to 0. So now int result is equal to I divided by 0. Okay, this part is going to throw an exception, right? Let's see what kind of exception it throws.
0
And then
to
we'll handle it. Yeah. So we have to see the type of exception. What type of exception? Arithmetic exception, right? It is thrown because any number divided by 0, what does it return? The program will not understand. So that's why what it does, it will generate an arithmetic exception. So now in this case, we have to handle the exception here. So let's catch arithmetic exception AE, and then open bracket, close bracket. So here AE dot print stack trace. So now you see, so it is same like this actually. So same side, right? So it comes like this. So let's see. Run this program. Okay, you see here, it is now executing safely, and it still prints the exception here.
because we never wrote any throw new.
Yeah, correct. So it goes inside and it throws an error here. So it is not going inside, it's going inside this. So if you want to see, just right click and then put a debug point. I'll just show this one, maybe in the next class how to debug. Yeah, just put a debug point there, and then you'll come to know. So now it's not entering the file not found block. So here itself an exception is thrown. So it's going inside this, and then here you can see more details actually. So if you want to see what evaluate also, you can control F8 and then see. So you see the result. Yeah. So now A is an exception here, right? A is an exception. So you can actually investigate further. If you are a real, programmer, right? You'll see what kind of exception. Okay, detailed messages.
So was it Control Alt F8?
No, Alt F8.
Oh.
So that part, that part I will debugging how to debug the program. I'll tell in the next class. Okay. So now for now, to show you where exactly the control is going, I just did a demonstration. Okay, and finally, so the finally keyword is actually executed. This is finally. See when it is executed. Let's see. So there is an exception here, right? As soon as the exception is printed, it's going to finally block to release the resources. So that's where it is going into the finally block, and then it is releasing the resources. Releasing the resources means IO resource. Like if you are working on the file, right? If you are working on the file, if somebody tries to write on the same file, what will happen? It says access denied, right? So two people cannot write on the same file, right?
Yeah.
So access denied or some kind of exception will come. So those kind of things will come, right? That's why in the finally block, what we do, we will close that file. Means we have to use something like this. You have dot. Okay, here we don't have it, right? Yeah, within this.
Sir, is the exceptions like in the reference data type in the Java heap memory?
Means repeat again.
Like does the in the when we call the exceptions, does it go inside the Java heap memory?
No, it doesn't go inside the Java heap memory. So these are the exception classes that are already there. Okay. So we just actually, call those.
So we don't add anything.
Yeah, we are not adding anything. We are using this exception details. So
Right.
whenever there is a program generates an exception, right? So what JVM does is it will fill these exceptions actually to throw these exceptions by filling the details. What kind of exception, which part of the code is generating an error. You see here in this case test.java. Test.java is where this is the test.java, right? Inside this test.java, it is giving line number
15.
15. Just click on that, it will take you there. Okay, you see this part is an error actually. So this part you have to change it. So you see, yeah, this is another thing actually, suggestions. Okay, it suggests actually program will suggest where exactly the problem could be, and you have to fix this part. Okay, so fine. So we have done this
So
5
that
keywords.
was an unchecked exception.
Runtime exception is unchecked, correct. Fine. So this is the try catch block, which I just told. I'll take another 2 minutes. Try block must be followed by at least one catch block or finally block. Okay, try block, we must have at least one try catch block or finally block, and specific catch block is executed only when specific exception is thrown. This is what I have shown just now, right? Means I have two exception blocks here. So it doesn't go inside this, it goes inside this catch block only. So because arithmetic exception is thrown here, so it will go inside this block. Right? And finally, block is always executed. It is always executed. Means why? To release the resources. So that syntax, I explained here also. I just shown here also. So the same thing, like what I explained here. Fine. And this is one of the program to read the file. Okay, how to read the file. So I just gave some details here. So I'll just send you these details. So you can try this program. Okay, try this program at your side. Fine. So this is the reading the file actually. So file reading is also quite important. This part you forget actually, arrays and all, right? I will explain in the next class. Arrays and
A character array.
yeah, character array. So these are all collections, comes under the collection. So collection is again a big chapter, very big chapter. So we have to talk a lot about that. So for now, what we do the minimum things in using the basics. Okay, the basics are very important. These basics will help you, completing the coding exams. Whenever you go for any interviews, right? They ask you to attend the coding exam, like Codility or Hacker Rank. So during that time, all these basics would be helpful. Okay, the character array I will explain in the next class. Fine. So these are some of the programs actually, for you to practice. Write a RESTful service to read a file and print the contents of the file. Okay, how to read and content. So I just gave an example here. So this part. So reading the file, and then you're reading the file, and then character by character you are reading, and then printing it here, right? So instead of this, you store it in a string, and in that string you send it in the response. Okay.
So the for loop syntax is different.
Yeah, this part, you can use this is here, right? Character here. Yeah, this is one more advanced version of for loop. So Yeah, you can use normal things only, normal for loop only. So character is just a number only. You can treat this as a number only. Try for yourself. Okay, this part. Otherwise, you can find it in the Google. Okay. So if you try to find on your own, right, to solve the specific problem, then you'd be in a better position to understand. And so I'll help you. If you are not able to find a way, you post it on WhatsApp. I will send you the response. Okay. And write a RESTful service to handle IO exception, and then while handling while reading the file which is not existing, something like this, and then write a custom checked exception to throw an user not found exception. So this is like you have to create this class. So this part actually I'll tell in the next class also. So try to read the file and then print the contents. The first one alone you try to do, you'll come to know a lot of things. Okay. Yeah, that's it from my side. Anything you can just let me know. Okay, any doubts or anything you can ping on WhatsApp. And Aditya and Anita, I want you to practice. Okay, if you don't practice, it's very tough for you actually. Yeah, thank you all, and I'm done for today. So anything you just post me. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
see you in the
Bye.
next class. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.